Just because it's in the dictionary, it doesn't mean that it's law. So let's talk about what it really counts and what doesn't when it comes to legal authority. Hi, I'm John Strohmeyer with Strohmeyer Law, where we help our clients leave no unfinished business. While I am a lawyer, I am not your lawyer, so don't take the advice of some talking head on the internet. Make sure that you're talking to your own advisors about your specific circumstances. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, today we're going to be talking about something I see pretty commonly in videos promoting things that really aren't going to work in estate and tax planning. And that's picking and choosing what you think is the law. This is going to fall under the potential fights category of problems because if you pick the wrong source of law or something that isn't a source of law at all, well, you're going to create confusion, conflict, and failed plans when it matters most. So imagine this. You're watching people online argue about something and what it means in a will for someone to possess or control something. One of them proudly goes to their Black's Law Dictionary and says, see, this legal definition follows what I say. Therefore, I win. Well, his opponent responds with a screenshot from Merriam-Webster that says something different, and then claimed that because his dictionary works, he's got the true meaning, and therefore he has the better argument. 30 or 40 comments later, neither of which involved legal opinions, bar licenses, or really much of an understanding of how the law works, nothing's been resolved. The problem is that neither of these people, and anybody really who's citing to Black's Law Dictionary as a source of law, really are getting to what the law actually is. Ultimately, citing to a dictionary or something that's not the actual law as written and applied isn't going to be the law. So, again, when people get confused about words like heir, issue, beneficiaries, pars turpes, or what a trust means or what it can do, well, you can't reach for a dictionary. The legal framework that comes from these terms really is based on the law. I know, it's shocking. And those words can have different meanings than what is in the dictionary. And so if you're following what's in the dictionary, well, you're not going to get the right answer. So anytime people are disagreeing over what something means legally, you can't just go to a dictionary, whether it's Black's Law Dictionary or even a standard dictionary, and try and argue that the definition in there is what something must mean. Courts don't rely on dictionaries. They're going to rely on statutes, case law, and rules of construction. Citing a dictionary to any judge is a bit like showing your high school. Citing a dictionary to any judge is a bit like showing a high school essay to a Supreme Court justice, trying to say that this is binding precedent. It's not. It's really not even going to be considered because it's not legal at all. So, what is the law? Well, in Texas and elsewhere in the US, the real sources of law come from a few different places. First, the top of the line is going to be the Constitution. You're going to have both your federal Constitution and your state Constitution, which are our top legal authorities. From there, you're then going to get statutes. These are laws passed by the legislature, whether it's Congress in DC or the Texas legislature that meets in Austin every other year. They then pass things like the Texas Estates Code, the Texas Property Code, the Business and Commercial Code, all of those things that then apply as laws within the framework of the Constitution. From there, we then get case law because people will sue for one thing or another. Those judicial decisions are interpreting the statutes and the constitutions. This is then our common law because then you can go back to those cases to cite them as relevant precedent, binding precedent that then guides how things are done going forward. Next, you'll have administrative rules. So these are regulations created by agencies created by the government. So Treasury regulations interpret the Internal Revenue Code, which was created by Congress, which was passed in accordance with the Constitution and the amendments to that Constitution. Finally, you'll have some court rules that govern how legal process is administered inside the courtroom. What you didn't hear are dictionaries. Even legal ones like Black's are just secondary sources. They're tools to help interpret, but they are not the authority. So when you cite Black's Legal Dictionary, it's like trying to win a science fair with Wikipedia. It's not nothing, but it's not going to be the final word, and it's not even going to be persuasive. So what do you do when you hear somebody citing Black's Legal Dictionary or this word obviously means this? Well, neither side's going to be right because nobody understood the context. In a legal argument, you have to be fighting about what is defined in the Constitution, the statutes, the case law, otherwise known as common law, and the court wouldn't have used that dictionary anyway. They're going to be looking to prior case law, statutes, and the Constitution to determine what needs to be done. So if you want your plans to work, you have to know the real legal landscape. Pulling out Black's Legal Dictionary when you're trying to make decisions about what you should do isn't going to get you there. And while it's easy to get tripped up by misinformation and oversimplifications, especially when somebody is confidently waving around a dictionary and calling it law, well, that's just not how the legal system works. Real law comes from that real legal authority. Again, Constitution, statutes, common law, or case law. If you're relying on the wrong source, you're probably going to end up with the wrong outcome. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the comments.